Now that I've showed you how to set up a fly rod, I want to talk a little bit about different fly rods and how you know what size that you need. So a standard trout fly rod is typically a 9-foot 5-weight rod. This is great for if you're going to go down to Patagonia or if you want to fly fish anywhere in the United States. Typically for standard trout, this works great. If you want to go to New Zealand and catch some really large 10-pound trout, I would recommend going up in size to something, say like a 6 or maybe even a 7-weight rod. The higher you go in rod size, it's also going to help you with windy conditions. So if you're going to go ahead and go saltwater fishing, you're automatically going to go up a size in rod because you're fishing for larger species, but you typically face a lot more wind on flats boats in places where you would saltwater fish. So having a bigger rod to help face the wind is going to help you out a lot. If you live in the Northeast in the United States and you want to find a fly rod to be able to go out and catch little brook trout in small streams in the Northeast, you probably might not need something as large as a 5-weight. I think it's still a great all-around trout rod to have, and you can certainly use it in those small streams. But if you're just focused on the small fish, you can go down to a 4-weight or a 3-weight. These are going to feel a lot more flimsy. Fishing with a 3-weight is really fun, but they're a lot smaller rod, so it feels a lot more flimsy than, say, a 5-weight would. Whereas if you were to go up to a 10-weight or an 11-weight rod, things that you would use for big saltwater species, those feel like you're casting a broomstick. They're really hard to create flex in, but if you go ahead and cast a 3-weight, it feels like you're sometimes casting a piece of grass. Something to keep in mind, sizing does matter, but if you're looking for just a standard fly rod to go and catch trout in some of the streams in the Rocky Mountain West, go ahead and go with a 9-foot 5-weight. When it comes to buying a fly rod and trying to figure out which one's going to be best for you, there's a lot of options out there. So my recommendation is to go into a fly shop and try out a few. They usually have some that you can actually demo, you can go out and cast them, see how they feel. But just know that there's a ton of options out there and the price ranges significantly. Sometimes a fly rod can be $100. Typically those fly rods are the cheapest ones they make and they don't come with a warranty, meaning if it breaks, it will not be fixed. You have to buy another one. Rods can go all the way up to $800, $900, sometimes even more. These rods obviously come with a warranty. If they break, you pay a small fee, but they'll be fixed. These are fly rods that you would keep for a lifetime. You don't get rid of them, you keep them, maybe you pass them down. They're amazing heirlooms that should be a part of your life forever. When you're just starting out fly fishing, I don't think you need to buy a rod that's as expensive as an $800 or a $900 rod. You're not going to be able to feel the difference in the rod when comparing that to a much less expensive rod. If you were to just want to try out the sport, see if you even like it, I would recommend going with one of the cheapest rods they make. If you start to love it and you want to get more invested in it, you can buy a rod in the $300 to $400 range. That rod is a great rod because it's going to be something that you can grow into. I prefer to fish with stage rods. I've been fishing with them for many years, and I also like to fish with their reels. I tend to like a more fast action tip flex rod. Some of the rods that I've used from Sage tend to be more so this way. That may differ from person to person. Some people may prefer a softer mid-flex rod. You can try all of these fly rods out at a fly shop, and I highly recommend you go in and get a feel for it before buying it. So we've talked about the fly rod. I've shared a little bit about the reel, but this is the fly reel. Again, this fly rod is designed to hold a 5-weight line. Because I'm right-handed, this is a left-hand retrieve reel. Just know that you're probably going to want a 5-weight reel with a 5-weight rod, or vice versa. If you want a 6-weight rod, you're going to want a 6-weight reel. Sometimes reels are designed to hold multiple different weights of line. So, for example, sometimes I'll buy a reel and I can either put a 4-weight, a 5-weight, or a 6-weight line on it. So just know that. Sometimes you can have one reel for several different lines, but you have to make sure you get the correct line depending on what size rod you're using.